اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to a new episode of the SimplyRYQ. The SimplyRYQ Al-Baqarah, the SimplyRYQ Q&A, and somehow the SimplyRYQ Juz Amma, brought to you by TVQ.Academy, your borderless school of the Quran. So how have you been, good people? I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues to preserve you in high level of iman and good health. I also pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues to gather us in righteousness, continues to gather us in reading the Quran and strengthen our bonding with the Quran. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes the Quran protect us in this dunya and also grants intercedes for us in the hereafter. Allahumma ameen. All right, today's episode is another Q&A, which is Surah Al-Baqarah related. But while it is Surah Al-Baqarah related, it is also related to Juz Amma. So today's episode number 6 comes with two items. The first saying, why does it feel difficult to read with proper tajweed or articulation? This is the question. I say it relates to Surah Al-Baqarah. So while this question comes from the Surah Al-Baqarah camp, it is also relevant to any part of the Quran, whether you are mastering Surah Al-Fatiha or you are mastering Surah Al-Baqarah, which we are in the middle of it, or you are mastering Juz Amma, which we are also working on and it's already online, or you are working on Juz number 29, which is in the pipeline, or you are working on Surah Al-Kahf, which is also in the pipeline, or you are reading any part of the Quran. This question is relevant. But looking at the question, I can see that it comes from either from an adult, and an adult means a grown-up person, or from someone who has a very limited exposure to the Quran. To make sense of this question, right now I'm speaking in English. Clearly, my accent is not an European English-speaking accent. Neither the UK, the British, or the Americans, or any European for that matter, who are not necessarily English. My accent is an African accent. But at the same time, at this age, I can learn to change my accent in speaking English. But in order to do that, I will have to emulate, listen, follow, and practice closely how the ones I want to emulate and copy their accent, how they do it. The early stage will be definitely challenging. The first steps, the first days, the first week, but thereafter it will start to be more achievable and more doable and easier along the way, provided I follow the rules that are laid down to achieving that. The same thing applies here. Why does it feel difficult to read with proper tajweed or articulation? If you are reading Surah Al-Baqarah today, and I believe the one who posed this question is with us in the Surah Al-Baqarah series, SimplyRYQ. If you are reading Surah Al-Baqarah today, you certainly have some level of exposure to the Quran. Probably how you were trained to articulate may be different, but you certainly have some exposure. You certainly can read the Quran. You certainly know how to identify and recognize the letters of the Arabic alphabet. So since you have some exposure, that means whatever level of difficulty it is that you are experiencing, it is definitely easy for you than someone who is starting to read the Quran from scratch today. All right. So if someone is going to start to learn the Quran from scratch today, for sure he will not start from Surah to Al-Baqarah, even if he knows the Arabic alphabet, even if he can recognize the Arabic alphabet. He will start from lowest level, which may be for him to learn Alif, Ba, Ta, Tha, Jim, Ha, Kha, Dal, Dhal. Right. If he knows that, then he will have to learn to recognize the different sounds that come from each letter accordingly. If he is okay with that, then he will learn how to connect letters and make combined sounds from connected letters or group letters accordingly. Right. Now, let's take a look at this. In Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 40, we have already, mashallah, covered this verse. Ya Bani Israel, اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم وأوفوا بعهدي أوف بعهدكم وإياي فارهبون. Now, let's take a look at the individual letters that come in this surah. I'm sure you can read since you are with us in this SimplyRYQ Surah Al-Baqarah series. Ya Bani Israel, to the ordinary person, to anyone, whether they are exposed to the Quran or not, it may sound the same. But to the experienced, your kind self included, to the experienced, you are able to differentiate between the correct reading and the wrong reading since you are trained to differentiate. And it starts with identifying the difference between flat letters and round letters, the characteristics, and in fact, identifying that each letter, when it comes in silent mode, it has a characteristics that it has to uphold regardless. Now, Ya Bani Israel, Udhkuro. Now, someone can say, many may say, Udhkuro. Even though the dhal, they will still produce or articulate the dhal the correct way by engaging the tip of their tongue with the teeth, both teeth, upper and lower, but some may stretch their lips, some may not do that, uzkuro. So you are hearing the flow of the air or the wind from the mouth, which is some of the characteristic of dhal. Otherwise, it becomes zai. All right. However, because they are not stretching their lips, kuro, the flatness of the dhal goes missing. Therefore, it becomes more to dha, instead of kuro. All right. So when the reader of the Quran is aware of this from the beginning, or he learns this, the first stage, it may be difficult for him, but as he practices, it becomes easier and embeds in his habit of reading. Look at it as physical exercise. Unless someone has been physically exercising from childhood for physical flexibility, if anyone adopts physical exercise after he has grown up, the early stage will be definitely challenging until his body system becomes used to it. So the same thing applies here. For a seasoned Quran reader, Ya Bani Israel, Uzkuru Ni'mati is just okay, normal. But for someone who is not, we have to tell him, you have to say especially when it comes after dhal. When it comes after dhamma, a dhamma letter here. Over here, this letter, Hamzat Wasl, requires dhamma. Ya Bani Israel, Udhkuro. Someone will say, Ya Bani Israel, Israel. He's still producing raw. But to do it better, he needs to know that the raw with fatha has heaviness, and one must open his mouth and allow wind to go in. Ya Bani Israel. Once you train and practice to do this again and again and again, it's going to be difficult for you in normal situation. Even when one is tired to say Ya Bani Israel, he won't say that, because it already has become part of his vocabulary. اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت. So one will definitely have to push his lips forward because he's been trained. He has practiced that. He has exercised that a few times, so it becomes normal. التي أنعمت عليكم. He will not say أنعمت عليكم. أنعمت becomes طاء. أنعمت عليكم. So when he says أنعمت and he says أحطت, is it أحطت? محيط is two different things. أنعمت محيط. For anyone who knows the Arabic and also knows the Quran, when you say أنعمت, he knows there is ta there. والله محيط بالكافرين. He knows there is ta there. But for someone who is not, when you say والله محيط بالكافرين, أنعمت عليكم, he hears the same thing. He hears the same thing. So is there difficulty in reading with tajweed or articulation? At early stage, there may be challenges, but definitely there are challenges that can be overcome, that can be done with practice, endurance, patience, and expectation of rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يا بني إسرائيل اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم وأوفوا بعهدي. So because it engages mouth exercise, engaging the organs inside the mouth, someone who is doing this someone who is doing this consciously for the first time will find it like, oh, this is exhausting, this is too physical. But again, with practice, it becomes just normal. An'amtu alaykum. We will not say an'amtu alaykum. An'amtu. And it's only when you push off your lips forward that you will get clean dhamma. An'amtu. Or else an'amtu alaykum tu alaykum. An'amtu alaykum. Wa awfu bi'ahdi. Ufi bi'ahdikum. Sorry. أوفي بعهدكم وإياي فارهبون. So it becomes just normal. I don't feel any difficulty in doing this or in producing it, reproducing it, or articulating it. Why? Because I have been reading it for I won't say long, but yes, for long. All right. So, and anyone who is reading Al-Baqarah now has also been reading it for some time, considerably long, compared to someone who is now struggling with Arabic alphabet, or who is now struggling with Juz Amma, or who is now struggling with short surahs and what have you. I hope this answers this part of the question, where why does it feel difficult to read with proper tajweed or articulation. Our next item is related to Juz Amma, and it says, why do you make another Juz Amma series when you've already made Juz Amma practical tajweed series? This is a very interesting, very good, and definitely a relevant question. Why do you make another Juz Amma? Well, there are differences between the existing Juz Amma practical tajweed series, which I did 3-4 years ago, and the recent Juz Amma, which is SimplyRYQ Juz Amma. The difference is that the approach adopted or applied in the SimplyRYQ Juz Amma, to my conviction, is that it is more effective than the Juz Amma Practical Tajwid series. That is number one. Number two, this doesn't mean that the Juz Amma Practical Tajwid series is less effective. It has its merits and bonus, because I have explained Tajwid rules there intensively. All right. So if anyone wants to learn Tajwid, the rules, the grammar of Quran reading, then he will want to definitely, even by going through the Juz Amma, SimplyRYQ Juz Amma, he will still have to refer to the relevant surahs there to get the Tajwid that can help and enhance, even though I do highlight them on the go. Okay, so this is point number two. Point number three here is, if you have seen the Juz Amma Practical Tajwid series and you are seeing SimplyRYQ Juz Amma, you can see the difference in the quality of the audio, the quality of the video production. This is 4K and that is 1080p. This is done with live scene, as you can see, and that is done with green screen and what have you. Definitely the quality of everything has changed. In addition to that, as someone who prepares this and presents it, I have learned a lot in preparation, in researching, in designing, and also in presenting, in sharing. Now, so there are a lot. One last thing I can highlight here is, if you have an iPhone, let's say iPhone 6 and iPhone 15 today, they all can do the same thing. They all can do the same basic thing. Not only things, the same basic things. No difference at all. But iPhone 15 definitely has some features and enhancements, some touchings that iPhone 6 definitely lacks. And you will want to have iPhone 15 or even later than you would iPhone 6. This is how I see Juz Amma, SimplyRYQ Juz Amma, and in comparison to Juz Amma Practical Tajwid series. What does this mean? This means, by Allah's will, if we are given long life, in good health, and opportunity demands that I do another Juz Amma, I will not hesitate, by Allah's will. In future, if we are giving long life, good health, and opportunity requires that I do another Surah Baqarah, I will not hesitate, insha'Allah ta'ala. So if one will not hesitate to upgrade their phones, why should we hesitate to upgrade our Quran? Why should we hesitate to upgrade not only our Quran learning, but our Quran learning material production? I will not hesitate, insha'Allah ta'ala. So it is not only Juz Amma Practical Tajwid series followed by SimplyRYQ Juz Amma. If Allah wills and grants us long life and grants us good health, and the opportunity, the condition requires an upgrade of the existing Juz Amma, I will not hesitate to do another one. Not only Juz Amma, Surah Al-Baqarah. Not only Surah Al-Baqarah, any other series in the pipeline or on the schedule or within the framework of SimplyRYQ. And SimplyRYQ is not only reading Quran. Anyone who attends my physical class, anyone who attends my online classes or TVQ.Academy's online classes knows that SimplyRYQ or TVQ.Academy is not only Quran reading. We do the other dimensions of SimplyRYQ, Simply Read Your Quran. We do reflection, we do take assignments, we have takeaways, and what have you. We have students who are memorizing. We have students who are only reading. And yes, these are all part of the SimplyRYQ framework brought to you by TVQ.Academy, your borderless school of the Quran. So I hope this answers the question, why do you make another Juz Amma series when you have already made Juz Amma Practical Tajwid series? So with that, we have come to the end of this episode. Until tomorrow, where we are picking up with a new episode at the beginning of a new part in the existing section. I leave you in Allah's protection. See you in Jannah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم